All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Arye. I'm a customer success manager here at Atera, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today as we dive deep into network discovery. As I know, we've already done the sound check, so I'm going to go ahead and skip on. But again, as I mentioned, if you guys have any questions as we go along, please feel free, add them into the Q&A, and we will answer all of those questions at the end of the webinar, at the Q&A session. So today's agenda, I'm going to go over the benefits of network discovery, and I'll explain how you guys should be capitalizing on opportunities. Then we'll show you, of course, how network discovery works. And then we finish off, as we do with all of our webinars, with our live Q&A. So what is network discovery? Atera's network discovery is a tool that automatically identifies and lists every asset and component of any IT environment. It uncovers potential upsell opportunities that you can take directly to your customers. It also gives you a first line of defense with our brand new port scanning. Network discovery is great for projected quotes for your customers, initial onboarding, and remote agent deployment. Plus, it will continuously scan those networks, making sure that your inventory and security is accurate and up to date without using shadow IT. Now, keeping track of ever-growing and ever-changing customer networks can be overwhelming for any IT support provider, but successfully doing so is the key to IT support planning, proactive maintenance, and security. And this is how a network discovery tool really comes in handy, as it delivers a complete picture of all of your customers' networks by identifying its components and creating an inventory with detailed information on each network device. You can see in real time exactly what is going on with their sites. Open ports are a common technique hackers use to discover weak points in the network. With Atera's network discovery security scan, you can see exactly which ports are open on which specific device, see their CVE and their CVSS scores from vulnerabilities.com. And now, with all of that being said and done, we're going to go ahead and see this right in action. Right. Nope, not that one, that one. All right, so before you is, of course, the Atera dashboard. For those of you who are current subscribers and trialers, I'm sure you recognize it. For those of you that haven't yet signed up to a trial or have a active subscription, this is going to be your homepage for everything Atera. So let's go ahead and navigate over to the Network Discovery tab on the left-hand nav bar. All right, so the initial setup over here is if you don't have your network discovery activated, whether you're in a trial or as a paid subscriber, everyone has access to a free trial at the start of their first usage. So you'll have to go through the steps of setting this up the initial time. Once it's been set up, this is what you will be presented with. So this is the homepage for network discovery. You can see that I have a breakdown of all of my customers. I have some scans that I've already set up previously, so I can see that some of them are active, and then there's some information that I can see within those already set up scans. We're going to get into all of that in just a moment. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up a scan on a customer. You haven't done this yet. Here we go. I have a dummy account over here that I set up just for this webinar. So initially, the first step you want to do is you want to install an agent on a customer's network. That way you can actually go ahead and scan those networks. There's a couple of different places that we can scan from. Primarily, you want to be scanning from domain controllers as that has admin rights to a network, which that will give you the most visibility and the most actionable items that you can do through network discovery, I should say. We can, of course, set up scans for work groups. So if you have an Atera agent installed essentially on any device, as long as it's a PC, you will be able to set up a scan and run a scan for that. You just won't be able to do specific things. For example, remote deploying an agent won't be able to do from a workgroup scan. So let's go ahead and get this set up. So when you click on set up a scan, the first thing, of course, you're going to be taken over is into the scan settings for that specific network. There are tooltips and little help options available throughout. So if you ever get stuck, you can always click on learn more or find a tooltip and hover over a tooltip near what you're trying to do, and there will be a brief explanation. We have some default options that are preset for you, which you can just go ahead and click on start scan if you don't want to set them up. Alternatively, you can go manually set up the things that you would like to scan. So for example, I can select a customer's public IP from the dropdown. If there's multiple IP addresses, I will be able to select one or multiple ones. In this case, there's just the one. So that device is now sitting on a network, and I can see the specific network that I'm going to be scanning, as well as selecting the specific device that I will be using to perform the scan. Again, as I said, if you have a DC, that should be your primary device of choice or scanning agent of choice. If you have a server that's not a DC, that should be your second option. And then if not, then you'll have every other device that you can do. I currently don't have a DC available for this webinar. I do apologize. I was really hoping to get one. Last minute, I kind of couldn't get it. So I'm going to have to stick with this laptop for the scan. We have the ability to scan multiple networks at the same time. So if you have, for example, a server with multiple subnets running through that server, you can set up all of those networks to scan simultaneously. So all you got to do is select the public IP. Again, in this case, I just have the one option, but I would have multiples if there were multiples. Select the scanning agent specifically for that. Again, it could be the same one, and then select an existing network or a custom network. If I select a custom network, just be aware that you may not receive full information from those devices, depending on how you set up the specific specific IP address. From the existing, here I have the current one selected, but I can't select it over here as it is already set up to scan over here. We have some advanced settings as well, which you can play around with. So by default, network discovery is set to rescan every single day, once a day at 2 o'clock. You can, of course, change that to the time that you prefer. Daily, weekly, or monthly. This could go every 1, 2, 3, 30 days, once a month. And of course, you can set the time that you prefer. Now, for the security scan aspect of Atera, you can, of course, select the port range. Here is a tooltip that I mentioned. So if you ever get stuck, look for these all over Atera. They will kind of help point you in the right direction. So when you set your port range, you can have 3 options. You have the default top 100 ports to scan. You can set the top 1,000 ports to scan, or you can set your custom range, anywhere from 1 to 65,535. I believe that is the total number of ports that exist. I could be wrong, but that is the maximum number that we have. If you try to change that to 36, it's going to tell you that the maximum is 35. Maybe somebody here knows exactly what that number is in reference to. The more ports that you select to scan, the longer it will take for the results to show up. That is just because there's more ports to scan, and that is what this tooltip is kind of pointing out, or sorry, the alert is pointing out when you change that. As well as selecting the ports that you'd like to scan, you can of course select the scan speed. Bearing in mind, the faster the scan is set to run, the higher chance for an antivirus software to pick it up as potential malware or malicious, someone trying to break into your network, and that will be flagged, and the scan may or will probably be stopped if the AV is worth its salt. So we encourage you to keep it on the lower end, especially if you're going for a higher number of ports that you want to scan. Keep it as a T1 or a T2. By default, we keep it at a T3, especially when you're going with just your basic set of 100 ports. Or in addition to that, we have right now we only support TCP port protocol for scanning. We are going to be adding in UDP relatively soon. It is in our pipeline, so you can see that it's going to be available soon. Once you've set up your scan as you prefer, I'm going to go with the just the top 100. I can go ahead and start the scan. Scans can take anywhere from a couple of seconds to a few minutes, depending on the size of the network or the internet speeds. There's a couple of technical restrictions that may affect the time for results. So while this scan is scanning, as you can see here, I have it scanning in the background. I can also deactivate it at any point. Let's go ahead and check out one of my previous scans and see what the results would look like. So we're going to go over to this account, Allo. For those of you that have participated in any of our other webinars, Allo is usually the customer that we go to. All right, so the results are essentially broken down into 3 categories. We have our devices tab, we have reports, and we have security. Now, devices is broken down further into workstations, SNMP, unknown, and storage. As I mentioned, our default, the preferred agent for scanning is going to be your domain controllers. Your DCs have visibility over storage, for example, and your workstations won't. So you won't have any information regarding storage. But if we look at the workstation and servers tab, this is a breakdown of the information, of course, of the devices that we found on this network. So here you can see that I have a Linux device, and I have my this device, which we call the DC. I'm not sure if it actually is a DC, but you can see that we have these two devices on this network. Both of them are currently online. We can see that they were last seen today at 5 p.m., which was about 2 hours ago. One is currently being monitored, meaning one has an Atera agent installed on it. And as a Linux device, this does not have an Atera agent installed, but it is assigned to a device for monitoring. I have over here the RTT, the response time for in the network. This is showing me in terms of milliseconds the network speed, and this can be a little warning or a little early trigger for letting me know that there is a potential issue with the connectivity of a device. If everything is showing up, let's say 1 millisecond, and then I have a device which is, I don't know, 2000 milliseconds, then I know that there's an issue either with the network or that specific device. We can see the device type. In this case, these are both workstations. We have our IP address for this device. We have the unique, of course, MAC addresses for the device. We can pull up manufacturer information for some devices, and that can help better identify which device we are looking at. We have the OS platform, OS information, and in some cases, we will even be able to show you the OS age. If I'm not mistaken, this is the only place in Atera that you will find the OS age. I could be wrong. I have Dor from product on the line, so maybe he can correct me if I'm making a mistake.
That's correct, sir.
Thanks, Dor. I don't have any SNMP devices on this network. Actually, I thought I did. Interesting. Let's see if I have another customer that will have an SNMP device. Okay, so this scan has now completed, the one that we did together. We'll get back to it in just a moment. Any devices that aren't uniquely SNMP devices, meaning when Atera finds them, it's going to ask them, of course, for their community string and password. And if those match up properly, then we will be able to identify that as an SNMP device. If for whatever reason that does not work out, it will show up under the unknown device. And in some situations, it may show up under workstations or servers. There's a question that usually comes up is if you have the ability to move a device once it's found from one tab to another. So currently we don't have that option, but that is in the pipeline. It's something that we will be coming out with somewhere down the line. Also storage devices. I don't have any storage devices. Okay, so maybe Allo was a bad example to go with. Let's see if I can find, well, actually, let's go back to, where we go. Where did he go? ND, here we go. Let's see what we found on this. Much better. Okay, so here you can see a breakdown of all these devices that are on this network. This is currently scanned right now. So of course you have a breakdown of much more information. This is actually, I should have stuck with this. All right, so here we have our IP address, MAC addresses, and manufacturers. You can see all the different types of devices that are being found by network discovery. We have our OS platform will be a Windows. Let's see if I have any Mac devices. I don't seem to have any Mac devices over here. Not always we'll be able to see all information, again, depending on the specifics of the type of device. In our KBs, we have a further breakdown of which types of devices may or may not be more complicated for us to decipher. Let's see if we have any SNMP devices. Also, no SNMP devices, nothing unknown. And as I said, this isn't a DC, so I wasn't expecting any of that over here. Maybe McCarthy had an SNMP device. Also, no. 4 dogs. Let's try one last time. Okay. This is different. Okay, so this scan was done on a domain controller. And the difference between the DC scan and the one we did previously, which was just a workstation scan, is that we will be able to deploy the agents directly from the scan. I tried to do it over here. I know this device is there's I don't have the credentials for the DC, so that's why nothing is going through. And that's one of the issues that I was having with getting a DC for the webinar. But if I had the credentials, I would of course be able to deploy the agent. Why is my mouse seems to have frozen? Deploy the agent directly from here. Aha, here we go. Perfect. SNMP device. I have found this SNMP device. Again, if I had the DC credentials, then I would be able to change I would be able to, first of all, assign the device to an agent for monitoring directly from the scan itself. I would be able to change the template that would be attached to the device for the OIDs for monitoring based on the templates that I may have in my library. And based on the information from the manufacturer or the description of the device, I can also better understand the type of device in case we don't accurately, or if we're unable to figure out what it is, you might know better. From the storage tab, you'll have a breakdown, of course, of all of the HDD and SSD information from the devices. I think these are all HDDs. I mean, they're virtual, so I could be wrong. But you can see their usage. You can see, of course, in percentage, how many partitions a device may have, and all of the other information about them. I think because these are virtual, so we have less information over here. Once we have our scan done, we of course have the reports. Let's take a quick look at the types of reports that we have. So we have a overview of everything within our scan, the breakdown of device types. I see that 60% are workstations, 20% are servers, and 20% will be other devices. The online offline status of my devices currently for our online, the OS platforms, monitoring status. I have some devices that I'm not monitoring. These are going to be my opportunities. These are the things that I should be capitalizing. As MSPs, your bread and butter is monitoring devices. So if you find devices that are not being monitored, deploy agents to them, add them to your bottom line, increase your revenue as simply as by the click of a button. OS aging. Again, this is the breakdown of the aging that we will show you. So anywhere between 1 and 51 months will be considered new, 52 to 59 months will be considered aging, and anything older than 60 months is going to be recommended for upgrading. And then, of course, our storage information is available here as well. My cursor keeps getting stuck, and I'm not sure why. Okay, and then the last area, of course, or the last tab is going to be our security. I knew that there was nothing here in ForDogs, so let's go back to Allo, because I know that Allo has security options. So within the security section, of course, we have 3 tabs as well: devices, open ports, and potential CVEs. The difference between these three tabs is what you would prefer to group the information you're seeing. So you can group by devices. In this case, I have 2 devices with potential threats. My Allo DC has 14 ports that are open. My Linux device has 1. The device types, the IP addresses, and of course, manufacturer, and more information about them. Dropping down or expanding the information will show me a complete breakdown of all of the port numbers, the current state, the port type. Again, at this point, we only offer scans for TCPs. UDPs are in the pipeline. The services that are running behind those ports, and of course, the version information that we can see from them. From here, you can, of course, remote directly to the device or be taken directly to the device for taking care of any potential issues that you find. If you prefer, you can, of course, sort your results based on the port numbers. So here you have the same information, the port number, the state, the port type, the service running on that port, and how many devices have that same port open. In this case, there's just the 1. And if you head over to the potential CVEs, here you will have all of the information about the threat itself. So if we expand all of these CVEs, of course, the CVEs are generated by I'm blanking on the name. I'll get back to it, remember it. But the further information for this specific security risk, if you click on your specific CVE, you'll be redirected to vulnerabilities.com. That's where we get this information from, and you have a full breakdown of everything related to this specific CVE. Now, we use Nmap to run our scans, and they offer CVSS version 2 as a score. So the score that we're able to provide for you from the scan itself is going to be the version 2. But if you head over to the link, you'll of course have the update CVSS 3 score. You can see all of the information that you would like from here as well. Okay, all of these reports and all of these scans are exportable. So if we head back to the initial workstation, the initial device tab, you can see that you can export this as an Excel. The security can be exported as well. And then here you'll be able to break it down based on the type of information you want. If you want to show it as based on devices, ports, or the CVEs themselves. So now that we have scans set up and we've gone through all of the settings and we've seen all of the results that the devices are able to pull in, you're able to better understand the information that you're seeing. As I said, these are reoccurring scans. So this information is updated live every time a scan is performed. So we have our customer name, we have the public IP addresses of the networks that we find within each customer. So here you can see that I have 2 networks. To see the information about them, I would drop this down. Otherwise, I will just have the public IP address of the one network that we discover. Here you have the IP addresses of the networks themselves. A breakdown of the workstations and servers that I have found on this on each of these scans. So here I can see that I have 2 devices that I'm currently monitoring on this, and I have 1 device available for monitoring. A sum of all of these pluses will show up over here, letting you know that you have 6 devices, in my case, 6 devices that are available for monitoring. That's money on the table that you don't necessarily want to leave. Interesting why this is showing me 25 available for monitoring, yet this hasn't updated to 31. Let's see if I refresh the page, if that changes. Maybe that's all that was. Yep. So there you can see that the total now has updated based on the results of this scan. I have 31 devices available for monitoring. Now, the scan status, I can, of course, play around as well. If my cursor decides to unstick itself. Here I can see that all of these are active. I have some that are inactive. And then these are my customers that don't actually have an agent installed, or they don't have an agent available for setting up the scan. For example, they may have only Mac agents installed across them. I won't be able to set up the scan using a Mac agent at the moment. All right. Last thing for the network discovery is, of course, the alerts that you can set up to let you know when there are issues. You can manage alerts from Atera from the network discovery area just by clicking on Manage Alerts. Alternatively, you can access them from Admin. If you head over to Network Discovery Alerts, there we go. So some of the alerts that you're able to set up is, of course, letting you know if an unmonitored workstation is detected, if an unmonitored SNMP device is detected. You can also be alerted if the scanning agent IP has changed, or if the scanning agent is offline every time an iteration of the iteration, I'm sorry, of a scan comes along. If the device is suddenly offline, you can set up the alert to let you know that the scan is not working. You can set the alert severity for each of the selected options that you prefer, and toggle which alert is on and off based to your liking. You can also specify which customer specifically you want this alert for. Again, this is also an upsell opportunity for you to offer a higher level of service or faster response time based on the services that you can provide for your customers. Dora, I believe we went through everything that there is to go through. Remind me if I'm missing anything. But if I'm not, I believe we can head over to the Q&A. So just bear with me while I pull that up on my side. All right, before we head right into the questions, I do want to bring to your attention that we do offer some more in-depth training webinars. We have a full in-depth and overview for the MSP platform. We just recently released a brand new IT department platform version of Atera, and we have webinars for that as well. Other ones that we have are key aspects and features in depth. For example, we have an RMM and PSA training webinar specifically dedicated to those, in addition to advanced webinars for ticketing, billing, and patching. We also have our third-party add-on webinars, for example, Malwarebytes. If I'm not mistaken, we're the only RMM tool that has a integration with them directly, as well as Webroot, Acronis, Bitdefender, MCSoft, Axient, IronScales, and many, many more. So be sure to find all of that information at atera.com/webinars. And of course, you have access to all of our resources available on our website, including our knowledge base, blog, our Facebook group. We also have a Slack group if you prefer to use the Slack, and 24/7 live chat with real people, no bots. We don't necessarily like those. All right. So without further ado, let's head over to the first question that I got. Chris is asking, from what I've heard, Atera will be able to discover workstations on the network that do not have the Atera agent, correct? Correct. Also partially missing information. The network discovery scan will not only find devices that don't have the Atera agent, it will also find devices that have the Atera agent. You also have access to those devices directly from the report. You have the ability to deploy agents to those devices that don't have an Atera agent, as long as the scan has been run from a domain controller. Anonymous attendee is asking if we can send this video afterwards. Yes, I believe you will receive a link to those who have registered to this webinar. If not, then it will be available online within a short period of time, as we've recently rebranded. As you can notice, Atera is going through a rebranding phase. So all of our webinars are being replaced with up-to-date current ones. This one will be available for sure. Chris is asking, it looks like you have to purchase license for all of the users for the account. Is there a way to purchase license for just specific users? Chris, unfortunately, at this time, Network Discovery is an account level add-on, meaning you will have to purchase a license for all of your technicians. We know that this is a common request about changing the way Atera builds its subscriptions and billing. Management is aware of the request, they're exploring, and it's ultimately up to them to make the decision. At the moment, as it is, this is a per technician add-on, account level add-on based on the number of technicians that you have. What's the maximum? That's the maximum. Oh, thank you. Yes, that is the maximum port range for a computer for Windows. Got it. Okay, good to know. 35,000 and some change. 65,000. It's the highest unsigned 16-bit integer. Okay, good to know. I didn't know that. Anonymous attendee, for me, the deploying works kind of random. Some clients in the domain get the client, others don't. Even if I repeat it several times, all I get is the same settings though. Silent install silently isn't an option with the pop-up. If all of those devices are on the same network and there's no breakdown of any kind of subnet, some are going through, some are not going through, it may be an issue on the device itself. What I would encourage you to do is open a ticket with our live chat. You can do so over here using the question mark. Just click on live chat. And then once you put in your information, you will be redirected to our live agents. Response time is less than a minute. They will be able to help you figure out a little bit better why there could be any kind of restriction on specific devices. If you have already done that, then email me, success@atera.com, with your ticket number, because I don't have your information. Excuse me. I don't have your information as you're showing up as anonymous. So if you just email me with your ticket number, I'll follow up and I'll let you know what's going on. Pierre is asking, can you install an agent on Linux devices? So at the moment, we only offer a native agent for Windows and for Macs. Our developers are currently working on a Linux agent. It is scheduled for this quarter, and fingers crossed, everything is going to work out as planned, and we will deliver it as promised before the end of this quarter. So to answer your question directly, no, we don't have a native Linux agent to deploy from here, but the Linux devices can be found and monitored as SNMP devices. So you definitely have templates for that, for monitoring, adding them to your existing agents, definitely keeping track of what's going on. Joe is asking, are there just ports, are these just the ports open on the internal network, or is it also external scan? That is a good question. I'm not entirely sure. If I had to make an educated guess, I think that those are open ports on specific devices as opposed to external networks.
Yeah, the scan is basically being made by either the DC or the scanning agent. So these ports are in relation to where that agent is. So if it's a part of that network, it's internal.
Got it. All right, thank you, Dor. So yeah, Joe, those are just internal, not external ports. Thomas is asking, does or will network discovery have an API? Dor, maybe you would know this.
Nothing currently planned, but definitely an interesting suggestion to explore.
Thomas, if you have a use case where you would like to use the API for network discovery, definitely let me know, or use our feature board to request for this feature. That is all available from your account dropdown right over here. Click on feature board and add in the feature request over there. Product is always taking a look at that and making their decisions based on your requests. Shamal is asking, does the platform collect monitoring alerts like SIEM, CM? Not that I'm aware of. Also, Dor, maybe you know, I don't know what SIEM is.
So I'm not sure if you're referring to a specific format, but as Arya showed, there are a couple of alerts that can be configured within the system. So I'm not sure if that ticks that box for you or not, but we've seen the alerting capabilities that are built into the system.
All right, here we go. Sorry, my screen froze again. I'm not quite sure why that's happening, and it's annoying me a little bit. But here are the alerts that you can set up for network discovery directly.
Yeah, reading again your question, in the future, we look into improving and adding additional alerts, mostly around the security scan and port scan results, which I think will address your request better.
Manuel is asking if other credentials to install an agent from network discovery. So as of right now, the only option, the only way to install agents from the scan itself is, of course, through a DC, and you need to have the credentials for said domain controller. Those are the only credentials that you'll need. If I misunderstood your question, Manuel, if you can rewrite that, I'll be happy to answer better. Someone's asking, I'm in Australia, we tend to follow Essential 8. Which report can we use to monitor this compliance? I'm not sure what that is. I'll be happy to take that up with you via email, success@atera.com, and we will answer all of our compliance and security questions there. Cyrus is asking, what's the real difference between MSP version and the IT department version? Well, this isn't quite the webinar for this question, but as of right now, the essential difference is the key feature difference that we have right now between the two platforms is the in-depth or the depth of the integration that we have with Azure Active Directory. That being said, the trajectory paths for the MSP platform and the IT platform are very different. The MSP platform is going to be focused on MSPs, and the IT platform is going to be focused on IT departments. So right now, the transition is pretty simple. If you want to wait and see how things develop further on, I'll just give you a quick heads up that the transition process may be a bit more complex, and you always run the risk of some information not being able to transfer over or be relevant. But so yeah, so as of right now, there's the key difference is the in-depth integration with Azure Active Directory. The platform is also set up to be more comfortable for IT departments to use.
So essentially, in terms of network discovery, there's no difference between the two
Correct.
plans.
Yes. Thank you, Dor. Network discovery will work the exact same way for both platforms. Alex is asking, can we get a trial at a real difficult time onboarding stations when I tried the product a few months back? Send us an email. We'll look into something. We'll look into the causes of those issues and see if we can get you another trial. Cyrus is asking, can I get info on the Slack group? Sure. If you join our Facebook group, there's a approval process that we'll have to get into to join that group. Once you're in there, you have the link to the Atera Slack channel, and there you have access to some key players from the organization, from the product team, from your success managers, account managers. All of us are pretty active over there. Josh is asking, will SNMP monitoring get the capability to graph monitor data over time? It's a very good question. I don't know. Dor, do you by any chance know? Is that something that we have in the pipeline or something that we may be considering?
It currently tracks the online offline status over time, but something that's interesting to explore that we don't have at the moment.
All right, good. Josh, why don't you go ahead and add that to the feature board? That way other users can see it as well and upvote it. And then we will take a look at how that is best implemented going forward. Shamal is asking if there's a network map at this stage. At this stage, no, unfortunately, Shamal, there isn't network mapping. Also something that we are considering. We're looking into how to best implement that. Chris saying, perfect, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Oh, absolutely, Chris. Happy to have answered and showed you all the things you need to know. Renato saying 65,555. I guess that's the maximum ports that you can scan. Matthew is saying, is there a network map feature? So yeah, we just answered that. At the moment, we don't. It is something that we are looking into. Is there a plan to add Android tablets? Keith. So at the moment, MDM is not something that we offer. Dor, correct me if I'm wrong. It's something that we are exploring, and it should be somewhere in the pipeline.
Correct, but maybe in the bit longer roadmap, I'd say.
Not in the immediate future, but it is something that we are definitely going to be looking at. Marcia Jackson is asking, we're not a client of Atera and still under active agreement with another RMM vendor. We've been researching a possible new product replacement. Can we still access the recorded webinar? You mentioned it. Absolutely. You will be emailed the link to this webinar within the next day or two. If not, it will be available under our recorded webinars section at atera.com/webinars. Marcia, I would love for you to get in touch with me, success@atera.com. I'll be happy to help you kind of get set up and running while you trial Atera and better understand your needs and show you how we can help you out.
Mm-hmm. Webinars are open. You don't need any login to access them.
Correct. Frederick is asking, is there a way to export discovery results so we can import them into our documentations, for example, to a corporate wiki template? So all of the results can be exported via a CSV or via Excel. How you use that is entirely up to you. I'm not sure exactly what a corporate wiki template would be. Dor, maybe you would know. But definitely you can export the results in terms of information, raw information of what you found, both the devices and the security information. Craig is asking, how do you transfer from MSP to IT platform? Very simply, send us an email to success@atera.com and we will do the migration there for you. Shamal is clarifying that SIEM is a security information event management for cybersecurity reporting. Okay, so I think this is a little bit more in-depth security scans that you're asking about. So at the moment, all we support is the port scan, but we are going to be adding more security and vulnerability scans. This is definitely something that the product team is going to be exploring. Speak about licensing again, owner operation, single tech, looking for 20 customers, and we do okay. Shamal, I'd be happy to answer that. That's really just unrelated to network discovery, and I don't want to go off topic. Send me an email, success@atera.com, and I will be happy to help you out with all of your questions regarding licensing and all that stuff. You're very welcome, Shamal. Craig shared a link.
Yeah, this is
map
basically
networks using PowerShell.
a PowerShell script that allows you to map a network. So thanks for sharing.
I didn't know that
Craig.
I didn't know that we had that that KB or that availability. Cool. I learned something new. Thanks, Craig. Marcia, you're very welcome. All right. That concludes our Q&A, as I don't have any more questions in the queue. If you guys have any other follow-ups, please feel free, reach out to us via email, success@atera.com. We'll be happy to answer all of your questions. Again, you do have 24/7, that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, live technicians, not bots, not waiting queues, nothing of that sort. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, available to answer all of your questions regarding any aspect of the platform, not just network discovery, via the question mark widget over here. Just select it and start a chat. You also have access to our knowledge base library from the Help Center, as well as registering for all of our other webinars. All of that can be done from here. Any other features or requests that you guys have, definitely use the feature board. That is the best way for us to get your feedback. I do see that something quickly just came in from Jesse. I missed most of the meeting. When will this recording be available? Jesse, the recording should be emailed out to everybody who registered within the next day or two. And if not, it will just be available online under our recorded webinars, atera.com/webinars. You're very welcome, Jesse. I'm sorry that you missed the walkthrough, but you will have all of that over there. Let's go back to here. All right, so we finished with the Q&A. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at our future webinars again. Have yourselves a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're located around the world. But yep, bye-bye.